What a wonderful. What a wonderful.
Hey guys, it is your girl Brie Nicole, and if you want to know how to pass all of your nursing courses, just keep watching this video. Okay guys, this is a really requested video on how I pass my nursing courses. So I'm just going to give you a few tips and tricks to use that will hopefully help some of y'all in the future to pass your nursing classes. So I kind of made a list and I'm just going to go from there. Okay, the first thing my teachers did for us in the very first semester is they told us to find our learning style. Whether you are a visual learner, an auditory learner, or just, you like to read straight out of the book, you have to find your learning style to figure out, what best works for you, because what may work for your classmate that's over here getting A's may not work for you, and you might end up getting C's. So I found out that I was a visual learner, and also like auditory, watching videos and looking at pictures and like Picmonics. So that's what I use. Depending on the concepts we were learning, I would look on Google for pictures and Picmonics related to the disease process, and I would print those out and add them to my binder, because when I would be taking a test, I could like visualize the picture in my head. Like literally, I could visualize the picture, how it looked, the signs and symptoms, the side effects, and things that were included on the picture. And I will try to upload one here just for like a reference. And also, I liked watching YouTube videos. Like listening to someone talk about it rather than just reading it helped me tremendously. So I like to watch registernursrn.com. That's a website, but she's here on YouTube. Nurse Sarah. Everybody in nursing school should know about Nurse Sarah. So she has videos related to everything you could possibly learn in nursing school, and she was so helpful. And also Simple Nursing. I think his name is Mike, but he also had great videos on things learned in nursing school. So I would search Picmonics for whatever we were learning, and then I would watch YouTube videos, and sometimes I would do a little reading. It just depends how I felt, but most of the time that's what I went to. And also the concept map method, like having things mapped out, kind of helped me learn things better as well. So after you find your learning style, you need to get you a planner so you can plan out the days that you are going to study. So on my school planner, I would write down my class days, my clinical days, and like any doctor's appointments, like for me or my kids. So I would know like what day I'll be studying, and then, the times I'll be studying. So on my free days, I would have the whole day to study from probably about 8 a.m. till about 5 p.m. when I pick my kids up. So I would just look at my free days, and I would utilize those days to really study versus on weekends, when I was with my kids, because on the weekends, the only time I could study is like during nap time. That would give me about 2 hours. And then once they went to bed at night, I would try to get some studying in then. But by then I would be so exhausted that I would only study for like an hour or so, and then I would just stop because I would be ready for bed myself. So just get you a planner and write down the days and the times you're going to study, like each day or every other day, whatever works best for you. And my next tip is to do practice questions related to the content you are learning. Do practice questions, as many as you can, related to what you're going to be tested on. So like, say for instance, you're doing the endocrine system. So I would do questions only related to endocrine until I'm done with that test. Because just being honest, guys, there's only so many ways an instructor can ask you a question about a disease process. And from myself and my classmates, we have seen a couple of similar questions on our exams when we were doing like practice questions, because there's only so many ways they can ask you about the disease process. And if you do a bunch of practice questions, I'm pretty sure you may get something similar on your unit exams. So that's another tip. And my next tip is to utilize resources. So like with the practice questions, my teacher actually gave us codes to this site called Evolve, where we had subscriptions throughout our whole time in nursing school. So we can do questions straight from Evolve, or we can like do the ones in our books, like with the scratch off codes. Or if you wanted to just go buy books, you know, with specific nursing questions, you could do that if that's something you wanted to do. So our teachers also told us about different books that were helpful to students in the past. So the first most raved about book is the Saunders book. Yes, the Saunders book will be your best friend in nursing school. Also, you can get like Q&A answer books. If you don't want to do questions online, you can buy like actual books to do questions. And I'm going to talk about things I did in my courses now. So when I took fundamentals, the Saunders book, it really didn't help for some fundamentals. I mean, maybe like basic stuff, but it really wasn't a help. But I bought Fundamental Success. That book is just a book of questions about everything you'll learn in fundamentals. And like I said, when we took tests, a couple of the questions that we saw in the book and in the question bank were on our test, because, you know, there's only so many ways that they can ask a question about a concept. So I would suggest getting that for fundamentals. When I took Med Surg, our Med Surg was combined with like it was like Peds, adult, and geriatrics. So we kind of just learned it all in all areas. But for Med Surg, I bought Med Surg Success. I don't know if there's like a pediatrics or geriatric success. I'm not sure, but I just bought Med Surg Success. And then I also utilized my Saunders book when I took Med Surg. And then I did the questions on Evolve, and, you know, use my pick monics and things, whatever I needed. Depending on what we were learning, I would, you know, look at the pick monics. I would go watch the YouTube videos and maybe do a concept map, read a little bit in my Saunders book. And the good thing about the Saunders book is it is straight to the point. It's literally like 2 to 3 paragraphs talking about a disease process. It's not going to be like your required nursing textbooks. It is going to be straight to the point. So that's another reason why I love the Saunders, because it literally would take you about 5 minutes or less to read a section versus reading out of your required textbooks for the courses. Next would be Psych. So for Psych, I did the same thing. The Saunders book had a section in the back for Psych with all the meds, all the disease processes, everything you can think of. And there's also a book called Psych Success with practice questions. So again, I utilized that to help me study for the psych test. And then same with OB. There's a book called OB and Maternity and Newborn Success. And then I use my Saunders book because it has a great maternity and newborn section. So I did that and did questions. And then the same for, let me see, ER and ICU. There's a critical care section in the back of the Saunders book as well. And then there's a critical care book, question Q&A book that you can buy. But emergency, I think you can like look up emergency questions. I don't think there's a specific book related to it, but the emergency stuff was really so simple that you really even didn't need to do practice questions. But with my school's resource Evolve, I think they did have an emergency section. with questions. It was only about 50 questions. So I used that when I did the emergency test. And then my school used Hesi. So there's a book called the Hesi, either RN or LPN, depending on what you're going to school first. And also same for Saunders. There's a Saunders PN version and a Saunders RN version. So you just buy, you know, the whatever you're going to school to be, that's the version you get. So I bought the Hesi book and I read through that, and then they have a scratch off code to do Hesi style questions on Evolve. And I did questions, like when we took a final, I just did questions related to what our final was going to be on. And then I also utilized Your Best Grade. Your Best Grade is really good for your to study for your Hesi finals. They have everything on there. And I kid you not, those questions were formatted the same way as our Hesi test. They were even more formatted like the Hesi test versus the Hesi book questions. Like Your Best Grade, you do have to pay a monthly subscription depending on how long you're using it. So I did the monthly subscription every month until I was just done, or you can just do like yearly and buy it that way. So the Hesi book and Your Best Grade will be your best friend studying for Hesi. And also look at those Hesi hints. And there's like boxes that have Hesi hints. And I kid you not, there will always be a question on the Hesi related to those Hesi hints that they threw out there. Like, hey, make sure you know this because we're going to ask you a question about this on your Hesi. So that's pretty much all I did to study for my exams in nursing school. Like I said, what works for you may not work for someone else. So just find your learning style and do what works best for you. And I promise you, you will have a good outcome. And if you know what you're doing isn't working for you, go talk to your instructors. Talk to somebody in your class that's making A's and figure out what they're doing to see if you can make changes to make better grades. And something I learned in the past is to don't wait till the last minute. If you see the first two tests that you're not doing well, you need to change up something. So that's another good tip. And that's all I have for today, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And just comment down below and let me know what other videos that y'all would like to see. Bye.